So, my tea guest is David Lammy, who, of course, is the Shadow Foreign Secretary. He's been Labour MP down the road in Tottenham since 2000. He had a radio chat show host here. He's got a programme on LBC here in London. His parents hailed from Guyana. And I've said here that David says as a young cricketer he took a West Indian approach to bowling, inspired by the likes of Malcolm Marshall and Joel Garner. Is that nice to meet you, David. Is that a fair comment?
Lovely to be here. Well, the thing is, I was born in 72. And if you were born in the 70s, right through to really the early 90s, and you had black Caribbean parents, your idea of cricket was totally set by that great team of the 70s and 80s. You know, Clive Lloyd, who I'm very privileged to have now met a few times.
Fellow Guyanese.
He's just a god.
Yeah.
You know, Viv Richards. These guys were amazing. So I didn't have a very strong sense of cricket other than the West Indies. And the way, you know, as you grow up, you begin to realise that my parents came alive when they were in town. They literally came alive. And I was sort of reflecting when I knew I was doing this and thinking, look, I then got this break when I was aged 11. I went to Peterborough as a choral scholar in the cathedral school in Peterborough.
Right. A treble.
I was a treble.
Right.
I was a treble.
Hard to see that now.
I'm a bit chunkier than I was then today. But I got this big break, went to a wonderful school. It's a wonderful school, the King's School in Peterborough. And I was boarding in that environment. Now, I remember we thought a lot about the fact that I was going to be a chorister, a lot about the fact that I was going away from home and boarding in East Anglia. But I then remember putting on the cricket lights. Oh, my God. I'd never... You see, we didn't play cricket in Tottenham. You weren't playing cricket in Tottenham
really?
schools.
Not in the streets?
No, I'm afraid we just... Well, you were playing cricket in the streets. We were playing cricket in the streets, but you weren't playing with cricket lights that are not proper cricket. That was something I saw on television. Suddenly I was there in these whites and the jumper, the whole thing. There was strawberries and cream, and there were fields. We didn't have any fields in Tottenham. There were fields. I mean, it was just absolutely... I mean, I think my parents thought, forget the choir, he's going to play for the West Indies. Actually, it turns out it would have been England if I played for anybody, but I wasn't that good. And I certainly, and I'm thinking back, of course, my idea of bowling was fast bowling.
Yeah, had to be, surely, for West Indies.
And frankly, you know, the ball hitting people was not the done thing in East Anglia at that time. No. So I'm not sure how good my teachers, Mr. Cannard and Mr. Morell, thought my cricket was.
No. Well, how good was it?
It was all right. I think I was a better batsman, to be honest. I just remember a sort of a genteel game. I love the hours would just pass. And I suppose, look, I've got to say also that this was a life away from what was going on back home. There was a lot of strife in Tottenham in the early 80s. My father left us when I was 12, sadly, and he left in 85. And of course, I was sort of thinking, did he bring me down here? What was going on? You know, I'm a teenager. And of course, there was a fantastic tour in 84.
There was. You might think it was fantastic.
You were in the game.
I played in the one here. Nice gentle debut, that was.
And so that was a high point. That was an absolute, a wonderful, wonderful time. And of course, you know, that Britain's Afro-Caribbean community was here with steel drums.
But the atmosphere was incredible. I mean, I remember playing in that game, yes, and it was, they call it the Blackwash game, didn't they, that 5-0. And that whole side there was just rocking. And the noise, enthusiasm, just what you get actually, or did get, in the West Indies, watching cricket over there. It was amazing. And
did it get to you?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was quite frightening because, well, what was more frightening, that or Michael Holding coming in and kick-starting off this side screen? To be honest, that sort of took your mind off it a bit. It was a hard. That team, David, they not only gave. They put the West Indies on the map. They put the Caribbean. They put those little countries that are so independent and so fiercely proud and independent. They brought them all together, and it's only cricket that actually does that, isn't it? Yeah. But also, what it did for the West Indian community here at the time, it gave them pride. It gave them hope and inspiration, and on those two levels, that West Indies team was incredible.
Look, it was absolutely huge. You know, the Caribbean's, I think the population's tiny across those islands. I need to say Guyana is not an island. Guyanese people are very proud of the fact that we're a country, of course. Yeah. It lifted our shoulders. Suddenly people knew where we were in the world. And of course what was happening was hugely creative. And it was a standout team, and a standout team for many years. It reminds you that in the end, cricket at its best is a team sport. Yeah. We're seeing a bit of that in England at the moment. They've come together again as a team, thank God. And everyone plays their part, plays their rhythm. It's got to be a bit creative. It's got to be entertaining. I mean, I walked in here. I've got to be honest, I've been working quite hard over the last few months. Shadow Foreign Secretary, end up flying around the world. You're not always aware, frankly. You're in hotels, then in the Commons, then in the constituency. So I've only really been picking up the Ashes in the ether, Are the Australians cheating? I've heard that one before. It's come back. It could be a tie. But the powerful sense I've got, and it was wonderful coming in here because literally this is the beginning of the summer for me, and suddenly my shoulders fell down. It's a field. I feel like I'm in East Anglia, and I'm not, of course. I'm in South London, which is a foreign part of the world for me as a North Londoner. But nevertheless, there's a relaxation, and it's wonderful that England are playing great creative cricket and motivating people, miles beyond. And I hope another generation of young cricketers. Tell me
why that black section has gone. Tell me where those English-born West Indian heritage cricketers are, because that seems to me, and you can stare over there now, you've got the groundsman's shed, you've got some corporates, you've got the usual sort of terracing over there. That place was so vibrant, and it's gone. And likewise, looking in the England team, where are the black faces? Why is it? You came up at that time.
It's a complex story. Some of it negative, some of it not so negative. So, look, the truth is, I'm afraid the West Indies team that we're celebrating is long gone. And for the West Indies not even to get into the World Cup is a deeply low moment.
That's
to be beaten by the Netherlands, to be beaten by Scotland. Come on, what is going on here? And I think that, frankly, it started with Lara. We became a one-man team. I think that I do think it's been badly managed. There hasn't been the investment in the development of players, and it's not that you're just in the Caribbean and you're in poorer countries that can't happen, because actually, if you look in athletics in Jamaica, people like Usain Bolt, you can make the investment if you focus on it. So something has gone wrong in the West Indian game. That is not inspiring people. But there's another side of this story. The other side of this story, of course, and this is a positive thing. The truth is that when you start getting to second, third generation, fourth generation, I'm thinking of my own children, my parents' generation arrived here as a Windrush. People intermarry. The largest community really is now of mixed heritage. So there's a little bit less connection. And then I think you go into a bigger story, which is about cricket. Yeah. It's about the investment in state schools, not just private schools. I think that's a class thing, by the way. It's not just about colour. And what do we need to do, really, to grip this so that the game doesn't become an elite game, or indeed a game that's solely associated with the Shires? Because I think it can be so much more than that. the nature of this fantastic team sport, you know, one of the best in the world, how can we really, so that you do get that diversity? And I go and watch Tottenham, my football club. I love Spurs. It wasn't always diverse. It is now.
Is it? I mean, I don't follow football very well.
It's definitely diverse.
Yeah.
I was at the rugby at Twickenham. Not so much. And I think cricket, there's more to do. There's clearly more to do.
Yeah. Did you? I mean, you clearly enjoyed the game when you were a kid, but you would have been part of that exodus in a way, I guess, from that area over there that I keep pointing at. That would have been your generation, really. I guess that drifted away from cricket. Is that about accessibility? Not be able to see it on free-to-air television. You mentioned schools, costs of tickets. I mean, the West Indian supporters, I remember, they weren't interested in seats. They just wanted to stand and dance. And you know what I mean?
Out of the rafters, they were watching from the tower block.
But that's how it was.
But the story I told, actually, I think sadly hasn't changed that much. I was not playing cricket in an organised grassroots way in Tottenham. I only experienced cricket as a game that I could participate in when I got to Peterborough and East Anglia. I'm not sure, sadly, that story has changed very much. You can see with that wonderful ACE programme in Surrey,
yes,
you can do it.
You've seen that in action, have you, with Ebony?
Yes, with Ebony.
Yeah.
You with the investment from Sport England and the EC, you get in there. You have to outreach into these schools. You have to find the talent. It's got to be purposeful. It's got to be organised. Actually, I think they only have 500,000. Well, I mean, imagine if they had 1 million or 1.5 million, what they could do with it. And you're not seeing that ACE programme, which is, all credit to Surrey. That is not replicated across the country. You have to outreach. Now, I'm thinking of kids growing up in Tottenham. I'm thinking of kids growing up in Enfield. They've only got to go 3 or 4 miles up the road to Hertfordshire, or 5 or 7 miles to Essex, and have those facilities. But you do need to organise it. You do need buses. Why? Because a long time ago in Britain, we sold off a lot of the school playing fields. We should never have done it.
Yep.
We should never have done it. It's very hard to get them back, particularly with the housing crisis that we now see in parts of the country.
Yeah. I remember leaving here, David, in 2019 to go and find my car, which was parked somewhere in a school playing ground over there somewhere. There's a car park. And I was walking down past the gas hole that used to be over there and so on. And I was walking past towards a school playground, and it sounded like a typical chaotic kids' break. And I've approached it. It was like a typical sort of South London school, or wire netting up and stuff around this sort of playing area. And I thought, they'll be playing soccer, Walked up to it. Oh no, they're all playing cricket. They're all playing cricket. It was chaotic. There was goodness knows I don't know how many games were going on. And there were some teachers sort of waving and so on. But they were playing cricket, and I just thought, even on a sort of a tarmac area, the cricket can connect. People want to play cricket. These kids, they had Ben Stokes with the World Cup final. They had Ben Stokes at Headingley. Those great moments, and it just felt then that English cricket could really have kicked on. Of course, COVID unfortunately came and rather disrupted all that. But it doesn't take a lot, I don't think, for people to get cricket and understand what a great sport that it is.
No, I don't think it takes a lot. I'm actually quite hopeful. Look, I know that the recent report is incredibly challenging.
How did you find that?
Well,
were you surprised by it?
I wasn't. I was saddened by it. I was saddened by it. Surprised. I'm probably a bit long in the tooth now to be overly surprised, but I was saddened by it because what it made me feel is, I love the local nature of cricket. There's something that, there's. Coming in here, it feels local. I love it. But that localism can become parochial. And there was a parochialism in some of the attitudes that were coming out there in that report. But I'm hopeful because I think it's deeply depressing if you're not. It's a moment in time. Look at the women's game.
Yes.
Look at the progress that's been made over a short period of time. There's more to do. And they raise issues of pay. But that has happened. And I do think that cricket can make a difference. And right across the country, we can get more examples of Surrey. And look, I think that you've got to turn the page, move on. It will need some resource and some investment. You do have to put the money into the right places and prioritise this stuff, or it won't happen. But I'm confident that people want to see it happen, because the truth is, England would not be England without cricket. So we've got no choice.
Yeah.
We've got to make it happen. And actually, because there's great cricket in India, in Pakistan, there's still cricket in the West Indies, even though we're not great, in Zimbabwe and all over the world. The truth is that when you look outwards also, of course, we want the game to be multicultural.
Yes, absolutely. Well, here to that. Now, look at this. You've bought here a cake, and this is the smell. David, is this the sort of thing you tuck into in the House of Commons, or is it, this is that is Guyanese rum?
That is.
I can smell this coming through the cake.
That is proper Caribbean black cake. It's full of rum. Oh, if you aren't singing on air in a couple of hours' time.
Oh, okay. Well, it could be the challenge, but. Guyana is a place that we haven't been to often enough. I'm very lucky to be there many times. It seems to have dropped off our regular route.
Yes.
What a country. It is so different to, as you mentioned, I mean, it is a landlocked country. It's in South America, for goodness sake, with the most incredible landscapes and vegetations and rivers and waterfalls and wildlife and all of that. It's a fabulous country.
It's a country, the story of El Dorado, the city of gold, the hidden city of gold, is thought to be somewhere in the Guyanese rainforest.
You'll never find it in there. It's vast.
No one's found it yet.
No.
If I find it, you'll never see me again. But I do go fairly regularly. I'll be there a bit later on in the summer with Guyanese friends. Look, cricket is everything. It's a country the size of the UK with a population of 700,000. It's absolutely the country of Clive Lloyd. He's national hero, Chandra Paul. I mean, it's Frederick. I think my dad had a middle name after a cricketer, Vivart. I can't remember the name, but anyway, it's an amazing place. It's an amazing place, and I'm sad that tours have not been stopping off in Guyana more recently. They've been focused a bit more on Barbados.
Yes.
The border cricket ground is not what it was.
No.
However, Guyana has just recently come into quite a lot of money. It's a bit controversial because it's oil money. There's been a massive discovery of oil. So I suspect there'll be a big investment in cricket and it will come back on to the map.
I hope so. David, it's lovely to meet you.
Lovely to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this cake. The smell. Do you want a slice before you go?
I think I will have a slice.
Oh, no, you've got to.
I'm on holiday.
Henry will sort that out. Enjoy your break. And thank you for coming to see us. David Lammy, of course. In goes Wokesbell, the first ball after tea, and almost takes a wicket too. As that's Cummins pushing forward. And no contact with the bat. We get a great view here, don't we, by the way?
Oh, it's wonderful. You're so lucky.
Yeah. It's not bad.
I mean, it's close as well. You can see the numbers.
Well, we have to make it up sometimes as we go, but especially with some of that cake. Thanks, David. Cheers.